Hey, good morning. I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and I'm here to spend the next hour with you. I see Chad, Garrett, Morgan, Ian, Aaron in the comments already. I hope you're having a great December 24th, the day after Festivus, a couple days after my friend's Christmas, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And yeah, Julio, another Chad, multiple Chads here. I hope you're doing well today. As usual, feel free to ask me anything today. We can talk about any topic. Next week, though, will be the big preview of 2026. So I will be revealing / previewing / teasing pretty much everything that we will release in 2026 next year, at least everything that we have planned for 2026. Things can change. So today, I'm not going to talk about what's coming next. But I'm happy to talk about the last year, 2025, your favorites from 2025. I do have a question of the day today for you, not specifically about games or anything like that, but related to this YouTube channel at least. But yeah, I hope you're having a great day. I posted my treat of the day a little bit earlier today on Instagram. So if you go to Instagram at Jamey Stonemaier, you can see some drinking chocolate that I had over the weekend at an impromptu brunch at Telva in St. Louis. It's a restaurant that is new to me. I think it's been around for a couple of years. And it is, I believe, a kind of a Bosnian Turkish restaurant. And so I had some of the best baklava that I've ever had in my life. I had a really delicious Turkish eggs. And I also had this really rich, creamy, thick cup of drinking chocolate that brought back memories from a trip that I went to, a trip to France that I went on nearly over 20 years ago, 2002, so 23 years ago. In fact, around this time of year in 2022 was when I was on that trip. My family went to visit my sister who studied abroad in France. So nearly exactly 23 years ago, I might have been having this drinking chocolate, and then I had it very recently and had really enjoyed it. So that's my treat of the day. Let me know if you have a treat of the day or some sort of holiday treat that you are expecting to enjoy in the near future. I also put cookies in the title today because we went to, actually it's kind of connected to Friendsmas. At Friendsmas, we had a ton of different cookie options and everyone got to take home a little box of cookies from this friend's Christmas that we're eating through right now and that are really delicious. George noticed that the shirt that I'm wearing today is the very first Stonemaier champion shirt. You're right, George. So let's look at, so the faded out ones were the games that we didn't have available at that time. So here's Vantage, the Compass. Here's Pendulum. Here's Origin Story. That's how long we've been working on these games. Origin Story and Vantage. And then down here we have the pyramid from Red Rising, the societal pyramid from that game. Good eye right there. Sebastian, hello to you too. I hope you're having some happy holidays. Snickerdoodles are Jason's pick of cookies for this holiday week. So at my friend's Thanksgiving the other day, we did something that we hadn't done before. In the past, we've done a gift exchange where you draw a name out of a hat in advance and you find a gift for that person, which has gone over fine. But this year we tried something new, and I highly recommend it because it went over really well, which was everyone picked one or more things adding up to a total of $50 at most that brought joy to them or made their life better in the last year or so, because we had never done it before. So basically, I was trying to think of something that I really enjoyed from 2025 that I wanted to share with other people that I thought someone else or multiple other people might like. And we did a I think it's called a white elephant gift exchange, where you open a random package or you take something that someone else has already opened, and then that person does the same thing. Most people opened a new gift, but there were some steals. I don't think anyone really wanted to steal something, but there were certain times where there was a specific gift that was received that people really wanted. In fact, I did one of those too. I didn't like the steal element, but I really wanted, I ended up with these earbuds that you can wear at a really crowded gathering where you can still hear the person that you're talking to, but it mutes out a little bit of the outside sound, because that is that crowds get to me. I found that they kind of overwhelm me a little bit in that way in terms of audio. But anyway, the things in my package were, I gave a little bottle of fake alcohol because I've gotten really into mocktails this year, and I drink very little alcohol anymore. I'll have a little bit here and there, but mostly I just have mocktails if I have the choice. So a little bottle of that. I gave hand warmers, these electric hand warmers. I have one over here. They look like this. I really, really like these electric hand warmers because my fingers get really cold, especially when I'm outside, and I like to play disc golf outside year round. And what was the other part of my gift? Oh, and chocolate from Norway, because I went to Norway this past year and really enjoyed some of their chocolates. And then I gave a choice of 3 because I had 3 very different gifts, and I wasn't sure how they would work with different people. So the option of the game Dispatch, the video game Dispatch, my favorite digital game from the past year. You could either choose that. You could choose 3 months of Dropout.tv, a subscription to one of my favorite comedy streaming services, or a special Kindle reading setup that I discovered this year that involves like a claw that goes over my head in bed, and then a little clicker on it and a clicker in my hand so I can turn the page without actually reaching up to press the Kindle every time I want to turn the page. So you had the choice of those 3 things. The person ended up choosing the game Dispatch. Anyway, there's a long way of saying, what would you have chosen if you had done a gift exchange like this, where you wanted to give something or multiple things that cost under $50, that brought joy to you or made your life better in 2025? What would you have chosen to give or to put into a gift exchange like this for 2025? All right, let me get back to some comments real quick. Ian says that his 2-player playthrough of Tokaido with the expansions posted this morning. Awesome, Ian. Thank you for posting that. I really appreciate you and your wife for playing that. Oregon. I'm sorry, not Morgan. Monkey Butler says, I was walking through the game shop yesterday and picked up Origin Story to look at. That's quite a dense box. Thank you for looking at it and considering it. Yeah, we packed a lot into a smaller box, trying to make slightly smaller boxes, especially with the tariffs impacting taxes and costs that aren't anticipated. Aaron just had some chocolate covered pretzels. That's a good one. White chocolate or dark chocolate or milk chocolate? Which one is your preference? I would say pretzels are one of the few conduits for chocolate where I would choose white chocolate over milk or dark. Usually I prefer milk or dark in any combination, but milk actually works really well. Like that yogurt and milk chocolate on pretzels, I really like. Another vote for Snickerdoodles from Melissa's favorite holiday cookies. Steven's going to a family gathering of 10. Cousin has a 22-pound turkey. Party games for the win, and the 31st will be his last attending Livecast with a work change. It'll be missed. Well, Steven, I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything that you'd like me to talk about or share or go into for your last, either this Livecast or next week, your last Livecast in a while? Oh, cool. Okay. Shavin did something similar for a similar gift exchange called we Our Favorite Things. What was the thing that you presented for this year, or that you put into this gift exchange for this year? Grayson did some holiday baking, orange rosemary brown butter shortbread. Ooh, you put brown butter in anything, and I'm down for that. We got some brown butter Rice Krispie treats at our cookie. I don't want to say exchange, because it was really just a few people made a lot of cookies and everyone else got to take them home, which was really nice. Thin HDC 85 says, when are you going to reveal the theme or region of the next Wingspan expansion? That will be next week's Livecast. Next week's Livecast is my preview of 2026, where I will reveal the next continent. Julio says he's making tamales, a delicious Mexican holiday food. Nice. Yeah, I had a friend who used to make them a lot, and I haven't had them in quite a while. I need to either make them or order them from a restaurant in the near future. Ian also loves electric hand warmers. He says, my wife got them for me for Christmas a few years ago for my morning recess duties in the winter. Yeah, they make a pretty big difference, and they get quite hot if you put it on the highest setting. I usually use the lowest setting, but it makes a huge difference when I'm doing disc golf, or really my hands get cold all the time, so I use them even on the inside sometimes. Darren says he got to play Wingspan with the new expansion. He loved the fledglings and the training of them, especially the ways to speed up the training process. Wingspan, I'm glad you like that. And Wingspan, I found Connie does something really cool with the game, where it's throughout the game, there are so many different ways to kind of cheat your way forward, like play a cave for free, play a dragon for free, advance on a fledgling faster than normal. She constantly has these little endorphin boosts in the game that make you feel like you are getting away with something. And I really think that's clever. I didn't even notice that until I got to Dragon Academy, even though that was a huge part of Wingspan. So Aaron, out of the gifts that I gave, Aaron would have chosen. Aaron would have chosen for their contribution to my favorite things of 2025 or beyond, Dropout subscription and Flip 7. And Aaron, I want to add to that. I have played Flip 7 maybe half a dozen times at this point. I haven't played it in a while, but I played it at a game night this past weekend. And I don't know why, but it was the best. It was the most fun I've ever had playing Flip 7. And I've been trying to figure out why, because the other times I've played, I've enjoyed it. I like, the blackjack push your luck element, but for some reason it hasn't really shined. But it was spectacular this past weekend. And I can't quite figure it out. I think maybe it would have been, we added a little bit more drama to the reveal of every card. We did things one by one a lot, and that really helped, which I know is what the rules of the game anyway. But anyway, we had a great time playing Flip 7. I also played Deception, Murder in Hong Kong at this gathering, and I played Ra. I taught and played Ra, and had a good time doing that. It was a somewhat anticlimactic first round of Ra because we saw a lot of Ra tiles come out that really accelerated the first round. Only a few auctions were even won in that first round of Ra. I also got to play for the first time Emberleaf, a new game from 2025 that I really, really enjoyed. I had a great time playing Emberleaf, 2 players the other day. And just last night, I tried out a digital game called Dave the Diver, which a lot of people recommended after I said how much I enjoyed Dredge. And I played it for about an hour last night and had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed the diving game in Dave the Diver, where you kind of dive down and explore and catch some fish. I like that you get to use the fish. You make sushi out of them in the second part of the game. Like you bring the fish back and actually do something with them. But I don't know how much I like that part of the game. Like I found that I was really eager to get back to the diving portion and the exploration portion. So I'll have to see how that evolves as I continue to play Dave the Diver, if I do. Garrett says, we bought a pair of small wireless lamps to use on our board game table that are small but great for illuminating our table, as our overhead lights can be quite harsh. That would be my gift. That is a great pick, Garrett. I have a friend who has something similar on their table, and it really does make a nice difference when you, even just for like a dinner party, when you don't want really harsh overhead lights, but you want lighting. I think that's awesome. Great pick. Jeff is the one who hosted this game night over the weekend. Jeff, I had a great time. And yeah, it was the best game of Flip 7 that I've ever had. So thank you for fostering such a great group for that type of game. Michael would pick, if it were some gamers, and there are a lot of gamers among my friends, the card and token holders from Burnt Island KTBG games are so amazing. The card and token holders. I'll have to look at those. I'm familiar with the holders included in Endeavor Deep Sea, but I don't know if I know the specific like branded holders that they have. Aaron says, I'm assuming the chocolate was milk chocolate. It was Utz brand chocolate pretzels. Oh, I've had those recently. Those are really good. Those are really good. They also have chocolate covered chips that are just as good. Like they're very, very good. Okay, Darren's pick for under 50. They say, interesting. I'd probably go with a BRS 3000 stove with a 750 milliliter Toax pot or Toax pot. I love brewing when I go out on a walk. I like the quiet time a brew in the countryside gives me. So I hope this would encourage who got it to do the same. That's really neat. Very specific. But I like the idea. Do you brew it like while you're walking, or you bring it with you while you go on the walk, and at a certain point in the walk you pause and use this to brew a cup of coffee or tea? Stephen has a fun question. Do you recall the first tabletop board game you got as a Christmas gift and the first you gave as a Christmas gift? Ooh, that is a good question, Stephen. So I am sure that I got, in fact, I am almost positive that one of the first games I received as a Christmas gift, or we'll say as a gift, because I can't remember exactly when I got it, was Key to the Kingdom. And opening Key to, if any of you have ever seen Key to the Kingdom, it is especially if you see it through the eyes of a kid, maybe a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, it is a magnificent gift to receive. The box looks like there's so many adventures and world building and cool things to find in the box. It's a big box. that may have been one of the first, and I loved receiving that game, opening that game, setting it up, learning it, and playing it. Key to the Kingdom as a kid. And there's even a new version now designed by Ben Rossett and I think Matthew O'Malley, who have worked on some Stonemaier games. The first I gave as a Christmas gift. That is a bit more tricky. Gifts are not my love language. So even though I have given gifts over the year, and I do give gifts, it is not something that I think about all that often or that I get all that excited about. The first gift I gave as a Christmas gift, the first tabletop game I gave, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, I'm not sure. It was probably a gift to my brother, because my brother does love games, but I don't remember which one it was. Yeah. Austin also echoes that he really likes the cheating or getting away with something in Wormspan to get a card or get advancement. Here's Chris Porter. Chris says, I got to play Origin Story and Vantage again this past weekend, and they're so great. Thank you so much for saying that, Chris. I send you an ovation. I gave my friends thematic cookbooks for Christmas gifts this year. Oh, that's a great gift. Chris, I don't know if you've heard me talk about it, but we have a cookbook club here in St. Louis, just among friends, where we pick a cookbook and then we all pick a recipe from that cookbook and we bring it to like a potluck like gathering and then talk about how the cooking went and we enjoy the food. So yeah, it'll be neat to see what your friends make out of the cookbooks that you gave them. Daryl says he just picked up Vantage and loving it. I'm so glad to hear that, Daryl. Somehow I just realized you were in St. Louis. I live in the St. Charles area. Oh, that's awesome. I wonder if do you ever go to Geekway to the West, which is out there in St. Charles? Hopefully I'll get to see you there maybe in May this year. And Daryl says, wish you had a store or someplace we could come visit. Yeah, as you could tell, we all work from home. So we don't really have like a central hub for people to come visit. But Geekway to the West is a great place to do it. I love playing games with anyone who attends Geekway from St. Louis or from beyond. And my coworkers are here too, in case you want to stop by the booth at Geekway just to meet some of us and say hi. Aaron says, for me, the reason Flip 7 shines is it is a game that allows my 97-year-old grandfather and my 92-year-old grandmother to join in during board game time at family gatherings. That, and one thing that I'm glad you said that, Flip 7 is the type of game where you, one person can steer the game without actually making decisions for other people. Like you could have just one dealer. We shifted around the dealer, but you could just have one dealer for the entire game. It just kind of tells people what to do. You can talk about the odds. You can talk about what the special cards mean. And I think that makes the games really accessible and welcoming when they're designed in that way. Flip 7 does that really, really well. Hey, Paul from Pennsylvania. He's currently playing Rumble Nation with the family as dinner cooks. Oh, awesome. I love Rumble Nation. I hope you have a good time with that. Ian says, am I going to be on Board Game Arena tonight? I have dinner plans tonight, so I'm not going to be able to make it to Board Game Arena at night tonight, Ian. It says, if so, I think a game of Wingspan might be appropriate right now, depending on how many people show up. And Ian, you might be referencing that someone who was just a lovely person in the Instagram social media tabletop gaming community, Gosha. Wingspan, her name was Wingspan Girl. She passed away suddenly from illness over the past weekend. And you may have seen, if you're on Instagram, a number of lovely tributes to her on Instagram over the weekend and on Tuesday. And so, Ian, that might have been what you were thinking of here. And that's a lovely sentiment to think of Gosha and her love of Wingspan and Obsession and Arc Nova and other games. And I talked about this in a blog post on Monday. While Gosha loved these games and loved talking about games and welcoming people into games and just being positive and enthusiastic about games, and I love that. What I learned also from reading these tributes is how warm of a person she was. And I knew a little bit of this, but hearing the stories that people told, that Gosha would really go out of her way to talk to people about anything that was on their mind, that they wanted to talk about, personal struggles, family, friends, things that they were going through, things that they aspired to, the types of things that you don't see in public. These are private conversations that I think she had with a lot of people. And that just, it really, if you look at some of these tribute posts, I don't know, it just really touched me how how far she went, or how much it meant to her to connect with people and take the time to have meaningful connections with people. And you can see the impact from these posts of how much of a positive impact she had on people, just for being there to listen and talk to people in the space that they wanted to and needed to have to be heard, essentially. So we are going to, with the Wingspan connection, there's a Wingspan product later in 2026 that we're going to include a mention of Gosha in the rules as a tribute to her. But it really, it kind of pales, I think, in comparison to the meaningful connections she had with people. And so on my blog post on Monday, it's an annual blog post that I do about meaningful connections and play and elevation. And I added a fourth question, a fourth category of, if you want in 2026, if you want to share this, if you want to think about it, what is one way that maybe you want to more meaningfully connect with a person or people, however you want to do it in 2026? And this really got me thinking about that topic for that blog post. Austin says, I've done a Flip 7 game night at the senior living where I work, and they mostly enjoyed it, but those freeze cards can get some of them fired up. Might remove them next time. And that's true. Yeah, you can just remove them if you want. I jumped out to a lead at a certain point in Flip 7, and people started to put freeze cards on me, and I kind of took it. I was like, put them on me. I think that makes sense. I have the highest score right now. Do it. And I ended up losing by a few points, which was totally fine. But I can see that's the one type of card. I understand why it's in the game, but I can see how that could lead to some consternation in certain groups. George says, have I played Rebel Princess, the trick-taking game? Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you too, George. I have played it. It's been a little while. Actually, I played it earlier this year. I think I played it for the first time last year in 2024. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It had some, I don't know if it inspired Origin Story, because we had completed Origin Story by the time that we played Rebel Princess, but there are some similarities between the two. Maybe there's a little bit of overlap in the design. So one of the questions that I've asked today is, if you could give something that was meaningful or brought you joy in 2025, if you give a tangible gift, what would it be? And Paul's saying, I would go for a kneading hand massager. It's great for people with arthritis and just feels amazing. That's actually one of the gifts that I received in this gift exchange, Paul. It's kind of, I received this blob to kind of squeeze. I think it's meant to ease anxiety a little bit. Okay, here's Darren was talking about the portable stove that he really likes. He says, I stop on the walk at a spot away from the path, get the stove out, boil some water to make a coffee, and then Mike makes some ramen as a snack after. That's awesome, Darren, that you have that sense of patience to do that on a walk. Dennis said, last video you said about a Stonemaier game with the deck building on it. The next question is, will it be also a Stonemaier game, or I'm sorry, Jamey Stegmaier game? I'm not going to reveal that yet. I will just say that we have a game in the works that is a deck building game. Yeah. Shavin says, when playing Flip 7 with my students, I deal the entire time and play up the rules of the dealer to get them more into it. I think that's a pretty good way to do it. It was fun. Although it did work the other day when we rotated the deck around, that was fun too. It gave everyone the feel of being the dealer, but I could see if you are really good at being the dealer to like really embrace that role and just do it for the entire group. Aaron also says that they are the dealer and play with the players, sometimes trying to talk them into making bad decisions. That's great. That's fun. Edward also played Flip 7 recently. Keith said, we picked up a game called Point City and was tempted to pick up Vantage as well. I've only played Point City once, but we really enjoyed it. Plan to get Vantage soon. Very different games there, Keith, but I'm glad you're enjoying Point City, and I hope you enjoy Vantage if you end up trying it. I've played Point Salad, but I have not played Point City. I need to try that one. We've watched some movies recently over the last weekend. We watched The Assessment, which is a sci-fi, like, near future movie. Maybe they don't really say the date, but it's a future where if you want to have kids, you have to invite an assessor into your home, and they assess whether or not you, I guess, deserve to be a parent. It's a dark look at the future, but a really interesting movie. But I will say it is quite dark at various points. We also watched One Battle After Another, which is also a near future movie that I thought was quite entertaining, surprisingly funny, also a bit dark at times. And we also watched, actually, we've been on all these dark holiday movies somehow, or movies that we're watching in the holidays. We also watched the third Knives Out movie, which is great, like the other Knives Out movies. Also a little dark. Also a little dark. So let me know if you have any non-dark movies that you've enjoyed recently that you think that we should try. We do have we have a few. We have In Your Dreams is a lighter movie that we've heard good things about, an animated movie that we're looking forward to watching soon. And I'm excited to see the new Avatar movie as well in the theater. I also sent the latest Vantage. We're talking. A few people mentioned Vantage here, including Keith a second ago. I sent the new Vantage newsletter a couple days ago. Talked about weather systems and the environment in the game and the impact on game design in the game itself. Sent that the other day if you want to check out the Vantage newsletter. It's available on the Vantage page of our website if you're not a subscriber to that. And I did a blog, in addition to the blog about meaningful connections and creation and play and elevation on Monday, I did a blog post about reprints, which is a topic actually that came up in last week's livecast. Someone asked my thoughts about Ignacy Trebuchek from Portal Games, his post about the end of reprints in the industry, how they're no longer viable, at least for Portal Games and maybe for other companies too. So I did a post digging into that topic and sharing some ideas I had for increasing the chances that you could publish a game that could be reprinted or could be an evergreen game. That was a fun post to write about. Let's see, Aaron recently watched This is Spinal Tap, The American President, and Akira Kurosawa's Dreams. Yeah, you know, I saw a mention of The American President recently, Aaron, on maybe Slash Film is the film site that I saw that I pay attention to. I wonder if they mentioned it there. Garrett says, how would I rank the Knives Out movies? He says, I love all three, but my ranking would be 1, 3, and 2. That's a tough one. I really think they're great movies. All three of them are great. In terms of, you know, I'll rank them in terms of rewatchability. I think the first one is still the most rewatchable. In fact, I would rank them in order 1, 2, 3 in terms of how rewatchable I think they are. I've rewatched the second one 2 times, the first one at least 3 times, and I don't rewatch many movies too, so that's saying something. And the third one, you know, the types of movies, given like the clues that are dropped throughout, that I think are all rewatchable at least once. So I probably will rewatch the last one once. But there's something about the actually no, the director does a good job of picking settings that feel kind of comforting in a way, or places that I'd like to go. Like the second one's on a beautiful tropical island. The third one's in this kind of cozy, maybe New England town. And the first one is in a big mansion. Yes, I think the setting is key to making all those movies feel welcoming for rewatches. Yeah, so Garrett, you're saying 1, 3, 2. I think I'll say 1, 2, 3. Curious if anyone would put them in a different order there. Jay Sebastian says, I run a board gaming club at my school in which I have been playing Obsession and Brass Lancashire and a few other games with some 7th grade boys. I hope to be teaching them viticulture and tapestry next semester. That's awesome. Yeah, let me know how that goes. I'm curious to see what they resonate more with between those 2 games. Anthony has some games tonight. It's Not a Hat, Canvas Critters, Century Spice Eastern Worlds, and Slice. I'm not familiar with Slice. Yeah, tell me about Slice. Melissa is currently watching the new installment of Spartacus, House of Asher. How's that, Melissa? Are you enjoying that one? We're looking to get back into where we're looking to finish off Pluribus tonight, the first season. And then I think we'll start watching Fallout Season 2 in the near future. And our lunch show right now is St. Denis Medical Season 2. Probably my favorite comedy on TV right now, if not top 3. Really, really good comedy, St. Denis Medical. That's on Peacock. Jeff said that he just played here. I won't show this comment, Jeff, because there's a little bit of spoiler for someone who hasn't played Vantage. But I'm reading your comment about Vantage, and I'm glad you found something that you hadn't discovered before. Even though I think you've seen like a lot of the world or most of the world of Vantage. There's always more to discover. And if you have a bad memory like me, then you can constantly be discovering more things in Vantage. Aaron says The American President is my mom's favorite film of all time, so we watched that instead of watching Trump's address last Wednesday night. That is a good call, Aaron. I like that method. Does it hold up? Does The American President hold up? I think it's like 30 years old at this point. Yeah, I'm curious how it holds up as a movie. That, I think, is one of the first movies that I saw in the theater. I may have seen it on a date, actually. Yeah, in high school. I think I may have seen that on a date, one of my first movie dates. Do you all remember your first movie date? I think mine was very odd. I'm pretty sure the first movie that I saw on a date was the movie Powder. Way back when, I think I was like 13 or 14 when that movie came out. I don't know why I chose that as a date movie, but I did. I think that was probably my first date movie. Jason says a great holiday gift would be an announcement or an update about the next expansion for Wingspan. Jason, I look forward to doing that next Wednesday. Next Wednesday will be my preview for 2026. Daryl says, what was the name of the gaming store that you go to in St. Charles? Oh, Daryl, so it's a gaming event. It's called Geekway to the West. It's a open casual gaming convention that happens every May at the St. Charles Convention Center. You have to sign up in advance, but if you search Google for like Geekway or Geekway to the West, you'll see it. I believe signups will start in mid-January. The game store that I often go to in St. Louis, I go to a couple different game stores, but the main one I go to is Fortuna Games, which is near Tower Grove Park. It's not in St. Charles. Keith recommends also the series Pluribus. I'm loving Pluribus, Keith. And you're right, it's from the director of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, but it's very different from those. I agree. Yeah, very, very different show. I'm excited to watch the finale, or the first season 1 finale today. Trishul mentioned that there is a memory element in Flip 7. And you're right, there is a little bit of a memory element of remembering which cards have been played. You know, that raises a question here, Trishul, that I wasn't planning to ask. But one of the neat things about Flip 7 is one of these games where the number on the card is the number of cards in the deck. So, for example, the card number 8 in Flip 7, there are 8 of those cards in the deck. What other games can you think of that use that methodology of numbering cards? I don't know how to ask that for a video. I don't know if there is like enough to do like a top 10 about that. But yeah, if you can think of any other games that do that, let me know in the comments. Mark, Merry Christmas to you in the Philippines as well. Ian says, I'm looking forward to another solo game of A Place for All My Books and Everdell, Silver Frost, and then learning Santa's Workshop with his wife. Jeff, yeah, I highly recommend St. Dennis. It's really, really funny, or at least I love it. And he says, I know it has the actress who played Sandra on Superstore, and she was my favorites. Yes, Sandra is delightful. There's also an actress who is briefly in The Office on St. Dennis Medical. And who else is in it? I don't know if the others have been in television shows, but there are a lot of other recognizable actors on the show. Garrett's first movie date was Jingle All the Way. So it was a holiday movie date, Garrett. Miles's first date with Jesse was The Matrix. Oh, good pick. Miles, when The Matrix came out in theaters, there was another movie that came out at the same time called Ed TV, which was about something that's like more relevant today than it was then. It was about a show following someone's life, like recording someone's life. And for some reason, I was more interested in that than The Matrix. And so I saw Ed TV instead of The Matrix. And then I went off to Japan and didn't see The Matrix until later. But I should have, because The Matrix would have been awesome to see in the theater. And Ed TV was fine. The Matrix, I think, is one of the most rewatchable movies ever, though. So that's a pretty cool first date. Aaron says that The American President was released in '95 and it still holds up very well. So yeah, 30 years old. Very much makes you wish that Michael Douglas's president was our current president. I hear you, Aaron. Although I hear you, but I actually don't remember much about Michael Douglas as the president. I don't remember what the president was believed in and did in that movie. So I need to go back and rewatch it to remember that. Dirty Dancing was Richard's first movie date. Chad says 300, the movie 300. He says his high school girlfriend took him to 300 for his birthday. Nice, Chad. Austin says, has your Vantage reality competition show been shelved for now? I think so, Austin. It was an odd thing where I was really excited about it. I made all the rules for it. I was prepared to do it, but I think once I got to actually executing it, which is, the most important part, I kept making excuses not to do it. So maybe at some point I will try it, but I would say it is shelved for now. Yeah. Brian says, if you enjoyed Pluribus, which I am. Some other good Apple shows in the similar genre are Silo, Severance, and Dark Matter. Those are great picks all around, Brian. I enjoy all of those shows. I think I'm caught up on all 3 of them. Dark Matter has 1 season, Severance has 3, and Silo has 2, and we're fully caught up on them. And of course, Fraggle Rock's First Snow Holiday Special. That's a twist there. Very different than those other shows. Hilda says, wishing everyone happy moments from this holiday season. This time of year can feel heavy at times, but I have to say that watching my 83-year-old mom get super intense playing Flip 7, another Flip 7 mention, has been a highlight of the season. Sending love to you all. Now I wish I still had my copy of Flip 7 so I could be playing it over the holidays like this. That's wonderful to hear, Hilda. Happy holidays to you too. Okay, Jeff says that January 16th is when the Geekway badges go on sale. Geekway to the West, highly recommend it, whether you're in St. Louis or beyond St. Louis. Okay, here we go. So my question was, what are games where the number on a card is also the number of that type of card in the deck? And Brian mentions, I got to write this down, Tiger and Dragon. I have not played that one. Tiger and Dragon. Flip 7 does it. Jeff also had, Matrix was his first date as well. Michelle recommends Geekway to Daryl. I echo that, Michelle. I love Geekway. Okay, Anthony says that Slice. It's a fast-paced pizza card game for 3 to 8 players where you'll race to grab matching pizza slices and complete pizza orders before anyone else. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Anthony. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Leon says, are you planning to acquire and reprint any more established game brands similar to what you do with Tokaido? Tokaido has actually made me not want to do that again. I love that we did it with Tokaido, Namiji, Tokaido Duo. I love that we have these games, that we can share our versions of these games. But what it has done is it is done something that it has basically crowded our release schedule so much that it really was kind of a break away from the core philosophy at Stonemaier Games, which is to release fewer things, quality over quantity, basically. Quantity, there are plenty of games out there. I want to release the things that we are truly the most passionate about. So, and by releasing like the Tokaido stuff and other games in 2025, it diluted the spotlight from all of them, I think, to a certain extent, despite it still being a great year. So no, I think it has been enlightening to try it, but it has made me almost definitely not want to do that again for another game or another brand. We did do it with Libertalia, but that was a little bit different because we really revamped that game. With Tokaido, it was like we kind of made Libertalia our own, whereas Tokaido was already felt like it could have been a Stonemaier game, and so we just added small quality of life improvements to it. Dennis says, I'm reading the first Mistborn novel, and I'm loving it. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, one of my favorite fantasy trilogies. In your last video about player versus player games, you mentioned Mistborn, the game. Have you read the novels? What do you think about the game? Yes, I love the game. I love the Mistborn novels, the first trilogy, the second set of 4 books. I've read pretty much everything that Brandon Sanderson has written, and I really, really love his work. So I'm also looking forward to the next series. I think there will be one other series of Mistborn books. And each of the series jumps forward about 300 years, to my knowledge. Let's see. Karana World says, Merry Christmas. Introduced Tapestry to 2 new friends this year. Thank you for doing that. Looking forward to playing with enough people to explore the big side of the board for the first time soon. It will be a longer game, just a warning, when you do play with 4 to 5 players. But I think you'll still have fun with the bigger board. Trinket Trove comes to mind as a game where the card with value 5, we need to make a 5-card set, although there are 2 times the number of that card in the deck. So yeah, it's similar, but not exactly in this category of games. First date movie for just Bob was Blues Brothers. Later, I learned to go to more romantic movies with my dates. Have you seen the Grinch themed Flip 7? I haven't seen that one. No, I think I like the original theme because it's harder to see the number in the Grinch version. I've seen it on the shelf, but I haven't seen it in person yet. Sebastian says, what's your favorite game that is not a Stonemaier or a Stegmaier game? You know, I make this list twice a year. I'll look back to see what my favorite game was the last time I made this list. So I do a top 10 games of all time list twice a year. September was the last time I did it. You can search the YouTube channel if you want to see the full list search for like favorite September 2025. There we go. Yeah. So as of that video, three. I put it raw. I put raw, one of the games that I played this past weekend. The Game, put it number 2. And number 1, I put Planet Unknown. This list definitely evolves and changes over time, and often changes based on games that I played recently that I had played from a long time. But yeah, those are my top 3 as of September, at least. Carol says, I hope everyone has a delightful holiday and time with family and friends. Besides Flip 7, I also recommend Hot Streak for casual gamers and families. That's another one where the game kind of enables one player to be the game manager, making it really accessible to everyone else who doesn't even need to remember all the rules because the manager can handle them for everybody else. Vantage does this as well in a different way. Okay, Rich says that Pairs does this. Pairs does this element of having 2 copies of every 2, 3 copies of every 3. I think there's a game with tiles that does it too. Does Zoo? Is there a game with animal tiles that does it? I don't remember if it has Zoo in the title. Oh, it's like color. Oh man, I'm thinking like Colortopia or something. Close to the name, but I don't actually know if it has this mechanism in it. Armando says you mentioned your interesting games with you Twist. Definitely. Do you also like when games have completely new mechanisms such as action systems? Absolutely. Yeah, I love unique twist. I love innovation. I love seeing new mechanisms. I love seeing something that doesn't already exist, or twist on something that does already exist. Like I'm fine with something being familiar but different. That's the case in many games and some of our games. But yeah, I love to see that, absolutely. And I love new action systems or tweaks on action systems. Fillmore Max says that he goes to MagFest in DC in January. I've taught Wingspan to dozens of strangers. Thank you so much for doing that. Looking forward to teaching Vantage to some folks as well. That's awesome. Thank you so much for teaching our games. I really do appreciate that. Aaron also enjoys Planet Unknown and the Supermoon expansion. I've only played with that expansion once. Strong Tower says, have you had the chance to play Toy Battle? Nope, there are a few games that I wanted to play in 2026 or 2025 that I haven't played yet. Toy Battle was one of them. Tag Team was one of them. I've heard Tag Team is best played, even though it is on Board Game Arena, I've heard it's best played the first few times in person at least. So I'm kind of saving my first experience for that. Or perhaps Geekway, if it's like Geekway. I think it's on my Geekway list. Check on that. Paulo says, do you get a lot of game proposals? Yeah, on our submission form, which is how we hear game proposals, we get a few hundred a year, I would say. Paulo says, I'm from Brazil and I won an award for innovation in game mechanisms on your award. I'm looking for a publisher for Robot Hunters. Yeah, I hope you find the right publisher for the game. Yeah, feel free to look at our submission guidelines to see if it's a good fit for us. Colorado, thank you, Rich. Does that do the number thing that I'm talking about? And is there a name for the number thing that I'm talking about? Yeah, Colorado. I think Zularedo is the other one that I was talking about. Trishul says, has it snowed there in St. Louis yet? We did get some snow and ice about 3 weeks ago, but right now it's around 50 degrees in St. Louis. It was even warmer yesterday. Trishul says, I almost clicked to play on Home Alone for the umpteenth time, but might instead prepare Wingspan Asia. Yeah, there you go. Play some Wingspan today. Stefan says, gotta go. Thanks for all the streams and videos this year. We actually have one more for 2025, but thank you, Stefan. I'm glad you joined the streams and yeah, that you've been a part of them this year. I hope you're doing well. Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas to you. Let's see if there's any Oh yeah, the other topic I want to talk about. Well, one quick thing. I'm doing Rolling Realms playthroughs this week. I did one yesterday. I'll do one today at 3 o'clock. Another one either tomorrow or Friday, depending on personal scheduling stuff. At 3 o'clock, but definitely one today at 3 o'clock. Uh, and one thing about submissions, actually, we're talking about submissions and Flip 7 games, these lighter games. We are looking for one fantastic lighter game, the type of game where you can teach the entire game by looking at the back of the box. That sort of game, like Still Clover, Just One, a Blob Party, Flip 7, those types of games. And we realized in going through submissions this past week, that one thing that might help, given the number of games in this category, is if there is a drop in the game, for example, Play-Doh and Block Party, and if the game is drop in, drop out friendly, because many times these types of games are played at the beginning of game night or the end of game night, or someone might have to go and leave in the middle of the game, or someone arrives during the game. I think that it's not a deal breaker, but it is an asset for this type of game. So I've added those two things to the list on our submission page for that type of game. The last other question that I want to throw out to you is that I want to do another state of the YouTube channel in the near future. I did one around 3 years ago talking about what the channel is and how it can continue to evolve. And so I'm curious if you have any initial thoughts or questions that you'd like me to think about as I think about the state of the YouTube channel as it currently stands, if you do follow the Stonemaier Games YouTube channel. Nib71286 says, what's your most exciting gift that you are giving this year? So I talked about this earlier in the livecast. At Friendsmas, we did a gift exchange where everyone gave something or multiple things, adding up to at most $50 that brought joy or made their life better in 2025. And my gift was a combination of a few things. There was some chocolate from Norway, because I went to Norway this past year. There's a small bottle of fake alcohol, because I got really into mocktails this year. And there was hand warmers, electric hand warmers, because they make my life so much better and warmer, especially when I'm playing disc golf. And then I gave the choice of 3 other things. One, the game Dispatch, the video game Dispatch. 2, a subscription to Dropout TV. Or 3, a setup that I use for my Kindle that has made reading on my Kindle so much more comfortable. So those are the things that I gave at Friendsmas this past year. Emma says, we bought Tapestry at launch and played it a lot. That was back in 2019, the year that Wingspan came out. It was a Wingspan Tapestry year. Dennis says, we recently tried all 3 expansions and it completely changed the game. They do add quite a bit to the game, especially the second expansion. And he says, so much better now. I'm glad to hear that you enjoy them with the expansions too. Would you ever play just the base game? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would play Tapestry in any form. Even the second expansion, as much as I love the arts track, it does add a certain amount of mental overhead. It makes the game much heavier, in my opinion. So I am not always ready for that. If someone wants to play with that, I will. Beyond that, the game doesn't get, with the expansions, they mostly just add more civilizations and more tapestry cards and more tech cards. So I'll pretty much always shuffle those things then. Dale says it's going to be 66 degrees in St. Louis today, and on Christmas, 71 on Friday. Global warming, I mean, but it does make for nice disc golf weather and getting outside weather at the very least this time of year. And it's good for local stores too. I think I was worried about local stores because like the time of year, the last weekend of Thanksgiving, when a lot of people do their holiday shopping, was the worst weather weekend of the year in St. Louis. It was really, really bad, I think, for local stores. But then it got really good. It got a little cold, but good for the remaining year. So I'm happy for that for local stores here in St. Louis. Rich says, my Kindle has a bedside stand and a remote control. Yeah, that's what mine has. It has this little clicker thing, remote control. Getting lazy in my old age. So yeah, my stand, it's essentially a bedside stand, but it attaches to the headboard. So it goes over my head and it holds the Kindle like this. I read on my back. And then there's a little pincher thing, like a little clasp on the Kindle that syncs to a little remote control clicker that lets me turn the page. It sounds like, Rich, I think you get it. Anyone else who's hearing this might think that's way over the top. But I really love that reading time. And I used to have to, I put a lot of strain on my neck to try to see the Kindle. I had like a pillow that I prop it up on, and this just makes it so much better. Yeah, it's one of my, I really look forward to reading every night, and this has made me look forward to it even more. Jeff says, I love everything about the YouTube channel. On my recap of 2025, it was my most watched. My award year was most likely to quote Seinfeld while playing games with friends. Happy Festivus. And Jeff, I'm glad you mentioned that. I love hearing that. Yesterday was Festivus, which is, if you watch Seinfeld, it's a Seinfeld holiday like the Festivus for the rest of the people who don't celebrate another holiday, basically. And for years, I hosted an annual Festivus party where one of my favorite things about it was people would post funny grievances from the past year. And it's been like every year since then, I have thought about and tried to make a Festivus blog with these funny styles of grievances. But the world has changed a lot since then. And I have tried to, even though I was trying to be funny, I was also focusing on pet peeves from the past year or in general and making light of them. My mentality and I think my mental health has changed so much where now I'm not even in a place for years now. I've not been able to think about pet peeves. I just don't think about things that I try not to think about negative things or things that I don't like. I'm so much more focused on the things that bring joy to me and bring joy to other people. So it's just been interesting to see that, like, even in an effort to be funny, I cannot think of pet peeves for 2025. I probably could, but I don't want to think about them. So I can say Happy Festivus. I love the idea of Festivus still, but the grievances part of it I've had to give up on. Maybe I'll have to revert to the feats of strength instead. Ted says, I finally got to play Tapestry all in multiplayer, and it definitely cemented as a top 2 game for me. I'm honored to hear that. That and Vantage hold the top 2 spots. Well, I'm really honored to hear that. Thank you for saying that. 2 very different games, although both of them give you a lot of freedom in terms of what you pursue. Which says, I like that when I fall asleep reading now, it doesn't hit my head. I've certainly dropped my Kindle on my face a few times as well. But now with this new setup. Keith says, I love your games, but teaching some of them to someone who isn't really a gamer can potentially cause them to lose interest as they are usually more involved to learn. I'm glad you're exploring the idea of a quick learn game with drop in, drop out aspect. That is definitely part of it, Keith. Part of it too, though, the way that I teach games often, and I don't know if you've ever tried this, but when I teach our games in particular, and I've started to design our games around this and develop them around this concept of teaching while we play. So usually our games have reference cards in them or teaching guides, some combination of the two, that give you a few big concepts to share with players, and then you can start taking turns and guiding those players through their turns. I think this can make learning the game a lot more accessible for games in general. But I can say that our games are designed specifically around being able to do that, to onboard people more easily into our games. Jay Sebastian says, what are you reading on Kindle? What are your favorite books? I love speculative fiction, and the book that I just finished reading, just last night actually, is The Strength of the Few, which is the sequel to the book, The Will of the Many. It's a book about kind of a societal system, a little bit like Red Rising, where your willpower is something that is, it's something that you can actually, it's not a tangible thing, but it is your actual strength as a person. And you can give some of it to other people. And so the society in this world is based on people giving a little bit of their will to other people. There's people giving a little bit of their will to other people, so that there are a few people who are super, super powerful, and then some people at the bottom of the pyramid who are ceding their will to other people. Really interesting concept, like magic system slash concept. And the book that I'm about to begin, the third book in the Legends and Legacies series of cozy fantasy novels. It's hard for me to pick like my favorite books of all time off the top of my head, but those are 2 books that I enjoy that I'm reading recently, and they represent, I think, the style of book that I often read. Jason Sebastian says, are there any books that you would recommend to learn about board game design? Yes, there's a book from Gabe Barrett that I think is really, really clever. There's a book from, I think it's titled like the 100 games that you should play before you die, which is a bit of a morbid title, but it goes over for a reviewer who speaks very succinctly and eloquently about the different games. I think there's also a game design game called Game Tech from Jeff Goldstein that's really, really good. I recommend all of those. Silvermax says, I would love to see some Q&As on your YouTube channel with game designers, artists, playtesters, etc. That's a great one. Great pick. Yeah. I mean, I use these live casts as Q&As, but yeah, that would be neat to do it with some other people as well. The one thing I found that I actually moved away from in 2025, because I tried this in a 2024, maybe 2023, is doing I try to have guests on the YouTube channel, and I found that it wasn't my favorite thing to do. I found myself I enjoyed the conversations that came out of it, but it's more coordination. You got to pair up schedules. You got to make sure that their audio, their video is working. It doesn't always work out that way. So having a live guest is something that I am less inclined to do, but uh, Q&As in some format, I think could work. Yeah, I'll think about that one. Thank you for that suggestion. Ivan says, any news on the new Span game? There's no new Span game. There will be a Wingspan expansion in 2026, and I will talk about it a little bit in next week's preview livecast on next Wednesday. Here says, the way I've been funny for the holidays this year was today I've been saying Happy Erev Christmas to people, which is a Jewish joke I'm making. Erev means Eve or day in Hebrew. Interesting. Trishul says, are folks from your side participating in any local white element gift exchange or the BGG Secret Santa? I talked about my friends group did a white elephant gift exchange. I haven't done it for BGG though. I wonder if there are any good games that explore the gift exchange theme. There is the Muppets Christmas game, which does lean into the idea of giving gifts to other players. I recommend that as a potential game in that way. Here's that. I described the Will of the Many as Red Rising meets an ancient Roman multi-level marketing scheme. That's a great way to put it. I really like that. Much more succinct than the way I said it. A little bit like Warbreaker. Yeah, Warbreaker is why I wish Sanderson would write another book in that series. I really enjoyed that system, and I think he only wrote one Warbreaker novel. Justin says he got Let's Go to Japan for his sister and her husband as a gift. They traveled there last year and both like Santa Monica, also by Josh Wood. You know, I didn't realize that was also by Josh. I need to try Santa Monica. Armando says, I've been curious about Tapestry for a while. Is it a 4X game? Tapestry is a Civ game. I would say Scythe is my 4X game, and or my version of a 4X game. Tapestry is my version of a Civ game. Let's see. Diceberg Alley says, wish you a Merry Christmas. Thank you. Looking forward to next week's 2026 live cast. Congrats on overcoming a challenging 2025 and wishing you and the company a successful 2026. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. It was the tariff taxes proved to be a huge hurdle in 2025 that I wish we could have better served our customers and my coworkers without that huge self-imposed impediment, self-imposed by the U.S. government, current administration. But I'm glad. I hope we were still able to bring some joy to your tabletop this year, despite that. Brittany says, my games group did her own top 10 of 2025. Everyone submits their list secretly, and the results are then combined using a point system. Vantage was number 2. I'm honored to hear that. Number 1 was Moon Colony Bloodbath, and number 3 was SETI. I am very curious to play Moon Colony Bloodbath. I'm hoping to play it at Geekway Mini in the very near future. I'm very excited to play that one, Brittany. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed Vantage. And SETI, too. Also, so I'm sure Brandon Sanderson will write another one next week at the pace he's been going. He is a prolific writer. I appreciate that about him. He treats it like a job, and he does a great job with that. Chad got to play Raw for the first time over the weekend. It was a total hit with my friends. It's such a delightful game. It's a fantastic auction, push your luck set collection game. I love Raw. And Jeff says Moon Colony Bloodbath was also one of his favorites. I feel like I have more fun every time I play. Jeff, maybe we'll get to play this together. If not, I'll play it either way. I'll find a way to play that. All right, I think that's all the topics for today. If you have any other thoughts, oh, here we go. Rich has one more thought here. His book of the year was Cleave the Sparrow, Hitchhiker's Guide, but with quantum physics, philosophy, and consciousness. That's pretty cool, Rich. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we'll end on that note. A book recommendation for the year. If any of you have any other answers to the questions that I've asked today, I'd love to hear them in the comments. You can post about it on YouTube after this video goes live. I hope you all have Happy holidays, Merry Christmas if you celebrate, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Festivus, of course. Have a great week, hopefully with some treats, and I will see you next Wednesday for the last live cast and perhaps the biggest live cast of the year when I review everything that we are going to release in 2026. See you then. Bye.